He is one of America's preeminent conservative commentators, constitutional lawyers, and radio talk show hosts. He is in great demand as a political and legal commentator and has appeared on hundreds of television and radio programs. His top-rated show on WABC in New York is now syndicated nationally by ABC radio networks. His book, Men in Black, was released in February of 2005 and quickly climbed to number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. He is also a contributing editor for National Review Online, and he writes frequently for other national publications. He continues to practice law in the private sector, heading up the prestigious Landmark Legal Foundation in Washington, D.C. Please welcome the man that Sean Hannity calls the Great One, Mark Levin.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. Have you noticed there are a lot of politicians who invoke Ronald Reagan's name, but when they had a chance, they governed like Nelson Rockefeller? Just a little something I picked up. I don't have a lot of time, and I want to talk about something that is near and dear to all our hearts: the Constitution, the founding, and why we conservatives need to really get engaged, push the conservative movement, take back the Republican Party. Today we're in the midst of a quiet civil war, and by that I mean an unarmed battle in this country for the heart and soul of the nation. Now, are we going to defend these principles of the nation's founding? Or are we going to accept as inevitable the expansion of the state? What are we going to do? We're on a slow road to tyranny. And if we don't reacquaint ourselves with our conservative beliefs, preach those beliefs to our fellow citizens, and become activists for life and liberty, we will be doomed. And I'm not kidding. And I'm not trying to be controversial. I come to you not as a theologian, not as a preacher, but as a concerned citizen. I come to you as someone who sees his country under assault by forces that reject the legacy of the Founding Fathers and the framers of the Constitution. In the Declaration of Independence, the founders spoke about the laws of nature and nature's God. They said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Today, much of what I just said, much of the Declaration, is flat out rejected. If we were founding a new country today, there's no way words like laws of nature and nature's God are endowed by their Creator would be used to describe this nation. Even if Congress adopted this language, some activist judge would rule that they violate separation of church and state. Yet the founders, because of their belief in God, created the most tolerant society ever established on earth. For all the best-selling books, for all those best-selling books attacking people of faith, and there are many, the historical truth is that these authors live in a society in which they can freely and safely say anything they want about God, religion, and religious people. And that's no mistake. But the irony is, they don't know why. They attack the very people and principles that make their liberty possible. founders were asserting that we, as human beings, have a right to live and to live freely. But they also understood that man is imperfect and government can't make him perfect. And as such, a civilized society or a social compact is necessary to secure life and liberty. That a civilized society includes a moral order where good is distinguished from evil, where right is distinguished from wrong. A moral order which includes duty to our families, duty to our communities, without compulsion by the government. And respect for the individual, where each person is recognized as a unique human being. Property rights, where your labor, which provides you with an income and a home and security for your family, belong to you. And a society that has a culture where the values, customs, and tradition of those societies, of our society, is nourished and passed on to the next generation. Now the liberal, or the statist to be more precise, is constantly agitating to dismantle the civilized society. They promote moral relativism instead of moral order. They promote reliance on the state rather than personal duty to your family. They promote group rights divided by race, gender, and age, and wealth rather than respect for the individual. They promote socialism rather than property rights, and they promote multiculturalism, bilingualism, and open borders rather than the American culture. And the founders had a practical task, a daunting task. They had to set up a government that would secure life and liberty through this civilized society. They feared a mobocracy, as Aristotle called it, a pure democracy, because it leads to anarchy, like the freaks in the street today that made me go out of my way to get here. And anarchy leads to tyranny. They feared a too powerful government because they experienced such a tyranny. And as you know, they came up with a government, a constitutional republic, that established an intricate system of checks and balances. The federal government was granted specific enumerated powers, beyond which it was not free to act. Apart from what the powers conferred on the federal government, it had no other powers. And if society wanted to further empower or weaken the federal government, it could be accomplished through an amendment process, not through activist judges. And so concerned were the framers with limiting the ability of the federal government to seize power that they created the three branches, which would presumably compete among themselves for power, with no one branch becoming omnipotent. And to further underscore the limits placed on the federal government, Congress and the states adopted the Bill of Rights, which added specific areas of exemption. That is, where the federal government was not to intrude ever. They included the free exercise of religion. They included free speech, free assembly, the right to bear arms, the right to due process, the right to private property, and you know the rest. And we conservatives, we support all 10 of them.